All right, ladies and gents, here they are. The Barefoot Company's Barefoot Boots, the Bruin. Uh, they're $250, and is it worth it? Maybe. Let me tell you my story with these. So I've had these for about 6 months, even though I ordered them going on a year ago. And the story itself actually starts with having ordered a size that was too small. I got an 11 and a half instead of a 12. So when I went to exchange them, one of the challenges that this company, at least at the time, was facing was having a supply on demand at their warehouse in the Midwest. And so they had to come from Mexico to their distributing center and then to me. So it took a couple weeks to get them in the first place. Then they didn't have the supply at first. Then they were done. They came to me. They were too small. I exchanged them. Then they had to send another pair again from Mexico to the distribute, then to me. Then there was a part that broke, and so I sent it in for repair. They decided to just exchange it with me, and then so on and so forth, and to where it actually took almost 2 months before I had these on my feet and I was wearing them. And so the wearing experience is actually, these boots are super comfortable. I mean, they've got a nice leather footbed that breaks in. It takes a little bit to break in and mold to your foot, but after a couple weeks of wearing them, it's one of those I would slide my feet into them, and you're like, oh, there's the nestling spot for the ball of my foot, and then the little loop, mounted in the valley to the toes of each individual toe on my foot, to where it's like putting on a comfortable friend, and they're super awesome to wear in that regard. But I started to have like quality control issues with these boots. And so the first one, I told you there was a part that broke on them. I hadn't had them loosened like super all the way. I don't know if you saw in there how I loosened them all the way in order to take them on and put them off. And so when I was pulling the boot on, this seam right here on the boot just popped. And it's a thing to kind of take note, because on the front, it appears to be a double stitch, but then when you actually look to where the tongue is attached back here, it's attached to this gusset thing here with just a single stitch. And that was the failure point, was the single stitch instead of the double that it appears to be. And even here looking, I've got some stitches that are popping and coming loose. And so that was a thing that was kind of a like, oh no. The durability and construction was kind of the promise of these boots. I see triple stitches around here and other double stitches, and so it left me wondering like how many of these stitches are not actually what they look like when you actually dive into the boot itself. Rose Anvil does a video where they kind of cut it in half and show you some stuff, and I don't remember what those stitches look like, but it was one where it called into question the quality of the stitches at the time. And it left me not getting these on my feet for months. And then the next issue I ran into was the sole itself. You can kind of see here a little bit, I hope. It started to delaminate at the toe and even at the heel. You can see it's delaminating there a little bit too, hopefully. And, it was one of those where I could have probably sent them back and been like, hey, these delaminated, because it started happening like 2 or 3 weeks into wearing them. And part of it is like I would, when I would sit on my stool and stuff, I'd kind of go toe down, and it gave a kind of opportunity to pull. But still, there's all wide variety of boots for less than $250 that don't delaminate that quickly. And so instead of sending them back, given the 2 months it took me to get the pair in the first, I just was like, screw it, I'm going to super glue these suckers and just carry on and have my experience with the boots. And so I did that, and that only holds so well because it's not like the super hyper epic whatever, but of boot glue. But the biggest kind of complaint I have, and I want to be clear, like, for kind of an average user, these are really comfortable and I think are probably durable, but I'm really hard on just things in general, which is why I was excited about them. My experience is a little lackluster because after 6 months of wear, I've got my heel worn down here in a spot, and that's partially the way I walk, granted, but I'm starting to have some pretty significant wear into the ball of the foot on the left foot, and I'm not a fan of this tread either. This tread is so tightly packed that if I'm out hiking or out in the garden doing whatever and it's muddy, it just gets so caked with mud and it's impossible to get out, that because they're barefoot, you can feel all the details and the wonky, and it throws off your gait, and you can't get the mud out to save your life. And even looking at them now, a lot of these tread pieces have just broken off. I don't know if you can tell that in the video there, but a lot of these little detail pieces have broken off to where the actual outsole on these and the way they're laminated left me with this, like, these are not the quality boot I'm looking for. And in my opinion, this is not a $250 boot for me. And the challenge is that if you want like a leather work style, outdoor style boot like this, there's not a lot of options. You've got Vivo Barefoot, which is kind of a leather boot. It's still not quite like this. It's not that kind of laborer's blue collar work boot. This is that, except it doesn't really hold up to the rigors of those demands. And for $250, I don't know that that's a worthwhile investment on these guys. Now, to be fair, these are built in a way where I can resole them. We have a cobbler here in town, and I intend to go down there and just see what the cost would be and what the options are for resoling a barefoot shoe. I don't know that there are many cobblers out there that, when they think about boot outsoles, have the capacity or material, or I don't know what that looks like to accomplish that task. So I intend to go down and find out and ask, what will it take to resole these boots? The only other competition that I know of that's in this particular category, I know a little while ago, in partnership with Rose Anvil, Jim Green Footwear released a barefoot version of their African Ranger boot. That's one that I thoroughly intend to try. It runs around $190 compared to the $250. And there's the similar philosophy and construction, and all leather, super bare bones, basic, just leather stitched onto a footbed and an outsole kind of construction. And the difference between this one and that's a substantial one, is it's not a higher heel, it's a low top boot. So I don't know what that matters to you, but if these boots were sub $200, I would say that they're well worth what you're getting for them, possibly. But since they are cross over $250 and you include the tax and everything, I have to say these are probably not worth it, in spite of how comfortable they are, on how easy it is to spend a day on them in your feet, walking around doing stuff. Like, the actual walking and comfort experience of these boots was astonishing. Like, I love it. I love the way they feel. I love how light they are, given that they're all leather. I love all that stuff. The shape of the toe box and how wide it is, that's all wonderful. But for $250, I just I was left kind of disappointed with a salty taste in my mouth. I'm going to be honest. So, I don't know. Tell me what you think, what kind of experiences you've had. I'll give you an update at some point if I get them resold, or what the story is with resoling them. Yeah, let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, and send it down into the comments.